तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। We chant first 7 mantras with the Shanti part. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Ishavasya Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjithaha Magridha Kasya Svidhanam Kurvanneveha Karmani Jijivishetchatagam Samaha Evam Tvai Nanyatetosti Na Karma Lipyate Nare Asurya Namate Lokaha Andhena Tamasavritaha Tagamste Pretyabhigachanti Yeke Chatmahano Janaha Anejadekam Manaso Javiyo Naina Deva Apnuvan Purvamarshata Tadhavatonyanatyeti Tishthat Tasminnapo Matarishvadadhati Tadejati Tannejati Taddure Tadvantike Tadantarasya Sarvasya Tadu Sarvasyasya Bahyataha Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Atmanyevanupashyati Sarvabhuteshu Chatmanam Tato Navijugupsate Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani Atmaiva Bhudvijanataha Tatra Komoha Kashokaha Ekatvamanupashyataha. So the last 2 mantras that we saw, 6 and 7, they are the glorification of the Atma Vidya and also the state of realization, what will it lead to? So in a way it is also the result. Now comes the 8th mantra, where the pointers of the self are given once again. So Isha is elaborated once again, and in this we also find the oneness of Jiva and Ishvara also is indicated. Saparyagat Shukram Akayam Avranam Asnaviragam Shuddham Apapaviddham Kavirmanishi Paribhu Swayambhu Yatha Tathyataha Arthan Vyadadhat Shashvatibhyah Samabhyah So that Isha is referred to here as Sa. Sa means he, Saha. What are the characteristics of that? Actually, it's not characteristic, it is pointer, Lakshana. These are not adjectives or qualities or characteristics of Atma. These are pointers of Atma. Qualities are different. Qualities are for a thing which has property, for a finite thing. So the property of that thing or the quality of a thing, it is finite. So we say sugar is sweet. So sweetness is the quality of that sugar. Now that sweetness will belong to sugar. Sweetness will define that sugar because sugar has that, it is finite and it has that quality. Now that quality distinguishes it from other things. So the sugar has sweetness, but Karela will not have sweetness. So each finite object has its own properties. But that which is infinite cannot have properties. It will have only pointers to negate all the wrong notions. What will remain is the infinite. So it is called Lakshana. Lakshana means pointer. Now the qualities can remain the same, but Lakshana can be many. For example, sugar is sweet. That's the quality of that sugar. That will remain sweet. So quality belongs to that thing and that will not change. But the pointer can change. Suppose we say that, the moon which is above that red building. Now does the red building have to be same? Some other place you can show moon through above that tree. So the pointer to the moon is a red building, is a tree. Pointer can change. Pointer can be as many. All the pointers are pointing to that one only. But qualities are fixed. Now sugar will not be salty. So we cannot describe that which is salty is sugar, that which is sweet is sugar. That which is sweet alone is sugar. So these are not qualities. So qualities remain fixed. Qualities are connected to the object. Qualities are for a finite thing. These are pointers. In the direction of that, we have to lift our mind. So first pointer, Pariyagat. Pariyagat means that which has gone everywhere. Pariyagat. It has gone everywhere. Meaning all pervasive. Last time we discussed a little bit on this. When we say all pervasive, we think of something which is present everywhere in space. But space itself is a superimposition of our mind. And mind is enlivened by Atma. So we don't have to imagine what is that which is pervading everywhere, which has gone everywhere. We have to remove all the names and forms. What will remain? That is the Atma. That is actually all pervasive. So all pervasive also indicates existence, pure existence, Sat. Because Sat pervades everything. Even when space is not there, the mind is. Even when the mind is not there, consciousness is. Isness is all pervasive, is everywhere, all the time. So Saparyagat, Shukram, it is of the nature of light. Shukram here means that luminescence, illumination, light. So that because of which there is life, because of which there is consciousness. So Shukram here means that consciousness, so Chit aspect. So this Atma is that which is of the nature of Sat, which is all pervasive, which is of the nature of Chit, which enlivens. The true enlivener is only Atma. Everything else is Jadavastu, is inert. But today we don't know that Atma is enliver. We think everything else is functioning on its own. So Atma is the life factor, enlivening factor. So Shukram, Shukra, one meaning of Shukra is white or bright. So what is the brightest is the Atma only. So it is Chaitanya Swarup Atma. So it is, Shukra indicates the Chit aspect. Saparyagat Shukram. Now it says Akayam, no body. Now which body it refers to here? Here it actually refers to subtle body. Because Avranam Asna Viragam, they negate gross body. It is not the gross body. Avranam means that which does not have any wound. Avranam. Body has a wound. Body can get hurt. It can get damaged. It can have a wound. It can have a boil, scratch, anything. That's the quality of the body. Atma is beyond that. Because it is not the body. Avranam. Asna Viragam. It does not have any of these nerves, muscles, all that. Body may have all that, which means body goes through 6 vikaras. What are the 6 vikars of the body? Asti, it exists. It is conceived. Jayate, it is born. Vardhate, it grows. Viparinamate, it changes. Apakshiyate, it starts becoming decayed, degenerating. And then Vinashyati, it dies. Body goes through 6 modifications. Atma is endowner of all the 6. So Atma is Ajar, Atma is Amar, Atma is Avikari. Mud does not change. Pot can be born from the mud, pot stays in the mud, pot can go through changes, pot can get destroyed, but mud will remain the same. What is that in me which doesn't change at all? That is Aham, pure I. That is a witness of all the changes of the body. So these 2 words, Avranam, Asna Viragam, they negate that Atma is not the gross body. Please remember, Atma is not something other than me. Is that some Atma, okay, that Atma is not the gross body. No. Atma is not the gross body means what? I am not the gross body. Atma word means I, the true I. So this is my description, my true description. So when we say Shuddham, Shukram, Akayam. Akayam here means not the subtle body. Otherwise, Kaya we generally connect only to the physical, gross body. But here it means not the subtle body. So not the subtle body means what? It is not the man, not the buddhi, not the chit, not ahankar. Not the 5 pranas, not the 5 senses of knowledge, not the 5 senses of action. How many are these? 19. With chitta and ahankar, 19. If you say only man buddhi, it is 17. These 70, it is 19 elements I am not. Which means in this contemplation, I have to rise above identification with all these. So seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching is being done by the senses through the body. Mind will feel emotions, intellect will have thoughts. In sit contemplation, when I withdraw my attention, I withdraw from all these. I am not. Which is what Shankaracharya wrote in a simple way when he wrote the Nirvana Shatkam. Mano buddhi hankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jihve nacha ghrana netre nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. That's what has to be done. So this is what this is saying. So I am not the subtle body. So I am not the subtle body means what? I am not the jiva. Name mrityu shanka, name jati bheda. Pita naiva me naiva mata na janma. Na bandhur, na mitram, gurur naiva shishya. That is all this. So when it is said here, akayam means I am not the subtle body, means the jiva bhav. See, these mantras we can go very deep into contemplation. If I am not the jiva, who is bound? I am the Atma which is always free. Jiva feels bound. Why Jiva feels bound? Because Jiva feels I don't know who am I. Because Jiva feels I am the body. Now body dies, so I am dying. Then I will take a new body to fulfill my desires. All that Jiva goes through. I am the Atma who doesn't go through any of this. So at this moment also I am Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarup Atma only. I am not the Jiva. Doesn't mean we stop doing sadhana. Jiva Bhav is still there. But that Jiva Bhav has to be negated. That is what this means. Akaya means Jiva Bhav. I am not the Jiva. How much we think about ourselves as a Jiva only, no? Throughout the day, maximum thoughts we have are about I as a Jiva. And further, I as a body, and then I as a Karta, I as the Bhokta, all that only. Even though we may study Vedant, full day we are living as Jiva only. We may say, no, but that we are doing sadhana as a karma yogi. No doubt, that is correct. We should do. But bottom line is what? I am not the Jiva. Chitta Shuddhi, no doubt required. We should do. But the goal must always be in the mind. Ki I am striving towards that Brahman. That is my true self. Karma Yoga, if I am doing properly, then in Nididhyasan, the mind will just be able to drop Jiva Bhav like that. How to know my Jiva Bhav is reducing or not? Qualities of Jiva are what? Karta Bhav, Bhokta Bhav, qualities of Jiva. Ahankar, lack of forgiveness, inability to adjust, attachment. These are all qualities of the Jiva. If these are reducing, and more my mind is able to think about Brahman, then Akayam is happening. My identification with the subtle body is reducing. When we say Akayam, it means this part. Otherwise, even if we study Vedant, at one point, at some stage in our mind, always that thought is there, ki what will happen to me after I die? What will happen to you after you die? It will happen to Jiva, not you. Let it happen. Anything will happen. I am Brahman. Right now, one has to contemplate on that, then freed from the cycle of birth and death. So, Akayam means that I am not the subtle body, which has many implications. Emotions overwhelm me. I am able to stand back and say, I am not the emotion. It comes, it goes. I am a sakshi of that emotion. Some strong desire comes in the mind because of vasana pressure, that I have to enjoy something. Coffee vasana is there. Tea vasana is there. I am not the jiva, but chai to chahiye. शरीर को ही चाहिए, लेकिन चाहिए. I am not the drinker, body is drinking. One says that in drinks. I read one PJ somewhere. What do you call a person who drinks tea only once a day? Jaswanti. Jaswanti is a person who drinks tea only once a day. So some vasana is there in the head, very strong. I cannot resist. I am Brahman, but tea vasana I cannot resist. That time I have to tell, I am Brahman. Brahman doesn't need tea because Brahman doesn't have body. Brahman doesn't get victim of the desire. See, the test of Vedanta is in handling vasana pressure, handling emotion, handling this karta bhav. Ego will want recognition. My name should come. People should announce. Everybody should know. Then deep recognition need is there. Those are the times when I have to apply Vedanta properly. I am not the jiva at all. How does it matter? So akayam. For vyavahar, what has to be done? As a vyavahar, we do different thing it is. But when we do it out of psychological sense of wanting and need and incompleteness, then that strengthens jiva bhav. So akayam means I am not the subtle body, which means not influenced by emotions, not influenced by desires. I am not in the trap of memory. Half the time we are living in the past or in the future only. Where are we living here now? If I live fully in the here and now, that is called Atmajnana. So chitta and then ahankara we spoke about. So man, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, I am not. Anything happens to the senses doesn't happen to me. I can't hear properly, I can't see properly, I'm not able to hold the pen, Parkinson I'm having, so many things one goes through. As the body ages, it will go through. Somebody calls you auntie, Are Baapre. One feels hurt. Are you calling me auntie? I am not auntie. Uncle. Auntie and uncle. First time somebody calls you auntie or uncle, it hurts. You know, small tiny fellows who will be there, children, they will look at you and say, uncle, can you please give me that? Don't call me uncle. One feels, because one is identifying. So, I am not this senses, I am not this body. The condition of the senses, it is whatever. So, akayam, avranam, asnaviragam. Now, these three words negate the subtle body and the gross body. Then, shuddham means does not have the taint of vasana. So, it negates the causal body. Shuddham means purest. That which doesn't have the taint of ignorance and vasana both. You know, Gurudev, when he was once in the ashram, there was one devotee of Gurudev called Isabel Taylor. So she had come from America. So she was visiting Puja Gurudev here in the Powai ashram. Now Gurudev had diabetes. So doctor will not allow him to eat sweet. So one day some sweet was there at lunchtime and she was offering bhiksha. Sweet was there. So Gurudev ate little bit. So immediately Isabel said, Swamiji, you are not supposed to eat this. So Gurudev said, if you can enjoy something without the memory of it and without a desire for it rising later, you enjoy and drop it then and there, then nothing will happen. Don't worry. So Gurudev said that and he went to wash his hand. We finished with Bhiksha. When he was coming back, she was giving him one towel to wipe the hand. So he said, but what happens to the vasana? So Gurudev looked at her and said, whose vasana? To whom it does it affect? And he just went. That lady couldn't understand only what is he saying. To a Jivan Mukta Purusha, what vasana, which pressure, nothing. It will not affect only. Even to us at the moment, whole Vedanta is built on this premise that vasana pressure is there and we have, and it's a fact. As long as Jiva Bhav is there, vasana pressure is there. But one who has gone beyond it, which vasana, what pressure, what Jiva Bhav, nothing, it won't affect only. She couldn't understand what he said, what vasana, to whom does it belong. Then she went and to ask. He said, vasana belongs to Jiva. I am not the Jiva. That doesn't mean one acts irresponsibly, but some prarabdha of that body or whatever it is getting exhausted. He is a sakshi at that point also. Not doing it under compulsion, not doing it as a victim of the pleasure, doing it. So that state is little difficult to understand, but that's what it means, that vasana pressure. We continuously identify with the vasana pressure and we say vasana pressure is high, vasana pressure has to be reduced, quality of vasana has to be changed. All that the jiva has to do, no doubt. But this vasana belongs to not Brahman. It's causal body. And we know the definition by the word sharira, what it means. Anything that is perishable. Sharira means that which is perishable. Shiryamanatvat sharira. So the gross body, subtle body, causal body, all the three will perish only. They are not eternal. Atma alone is eternal. So Shuddham means that which is beyond Vasana pressure, which is beyond ignorance also. It is the enlivener of ignorance also. What I don't know, that also I know, no? Avijñātam vijānatam, vijñātam avijānatam. Kenopanishad will say that. I know what I don't know. The enlivener of the knowledge and enlivener of ignorance is the Atma, is different from it. So these four words, Akayam negates subtle body, Avranam, Asnaviragam negates gross body, and Shuddham negates causal body. So to think that I am ignorant is the subtlest obstacle to realization. Ramana Maharshi used to say that. To think that you are ignorant is the subtlest obstacle to realization, because how can there be darkness for the sun? Wherever sun goes, there will only be light. For that which was already explained as Shukram, of the nature of light, illumination, consciousness, how can there be ignorance? It cannot be there. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that we stop doing sadhana to destroy ignorance. At the moment, ignorance is real to us because Dehatma Bhav is real. But in the Nididhyasan Avastha, we have to understand that this knowledge is my Swarup. Atma Jnana is my own Swarup. I don't have to acquire it from somewhere. And it is not that this Jiva has to meditate and now become Brahman. Jiva has to meditate only to destroy ignorance, which is apparent. It is not even real. The sun can never be covered by the clouds. One who is standing on the ground, that person sees as though the sun is covered by the clouds, as though it has become dark and gloomy, but sun is always there all the time. Same way Atma is our Swarup. So to think that I am ignorant and when will I realize, that is a big obstacle. Now a mind which is pure, see, when I don't have identification with the gross body and with subtle body, that identification, when it is reduced, then only identification with causal body will go. What we try to do is retain identification with gross body, subtle body, and then say, I am not ignorant. That will not work. Because the cause is much more subtler. So I have to reduce the attachment to the effects, then I can remove from the cause. So now Shuddham. Apapa Viddham. It is free from all papa. Apapa Viddham. Papa. Apapa Viddham also means Apunya Viddham. Because Papa and Punya are the karma phala. And they belong to the karta who has to go through the karma phala. Atma is not the karta. Atma is not the bhokta. So Atma doesn't have papa and punya. That's why in Bhajagovindam what Shankaracharya ji wrote. Rathya charpata virajita kantha punya punya vivarjita pantha. That here is a yogi. Yogi yoga niyojita chitta ramate bala unmattavad eva. That here is a yogi who lives with bare minimum. The clothes that that person wears also are as though made from torn pieces of cloth which are stitched together. Ratyacharpata virachita kantha. But the path that person walks is beyond doership. Punya, apunya, vivarjita pantha. Beyond punya and papa. For us, beyond punya and papa is sadhana, which is karma yoga. For them, beyond punya and papa is their state. Whatever they do, no punya and papa for them. But their punya and papa goes to whom? Remember, don't forget that. Punya goes to the devotees. Papa goes to the critics. Karma will create some karma phala, but karta is not here. Karma phala is still getting created. It will be exhausted by the others. You say that is so unfair. That is not at all unfair. The amount of karma that the Jivan Mukta takes of the devotees, that is so much more. And goes through it on his or her body, that is so much more. What karma this Jivan Mukta will do? Adharma to the Jivan Mukta will never do. Only good things the Jivan Mukta will do. So anyway, so punya apunya vivarjita pantha. So here that's what it means. Apapa vidham, meaning no doership at all. Atma is not the karta, Atma is not the bhokta, meaning I am not the karta, I am not the bhokta. Now, kavihi. Oh, Atma is a poet, but I can't do poetry. No, kavi here means krantadarshi. Krantadarshi meaning one who can see subtle things, which is not perceptible to the gross mind. One whose mind and intellect has become very subtle, that person is able to perceive the self. One meaning of kavi is krantadarshi, who can see the subtle, who has subtle perception. Even a poet sees, no? In Sanskrit, there is a very nice example for that. There was one tree, all the leaves of the tree have dried up. And on that there is one snake. So the king told people, write poetry on this. So one man wrote, Shushka vrikshosti, tadupari sarposti. That was his poetry. Because people like to end, no? Lines must end with the same rhyming. So he wrote like that something. Raja said, what poetry is this? Then the other person wrote, Ni rasa taruriha rajati purataha tadupari rajati phanipati raja. Nicely he wrote. Ni rasa taruriha, mean there is no rasa in this tree. Ni rasa taruriha. Rajati purataha, it is in front of me there is one juiceless tree. Tadupari rajati, on that shines as though Phanipati Raja is a king of the snakes. Now that's the vision of a poet. Poet sees subtle things, poet sees many different things, rasa, bhava, so many things will come. So generally poet means that, but here poet means one who has the subtle perception of the self. Other meaning of kavi means one who can see past, present, future. So omniscient, one who is omniscient. Atma is that which is beyond time. Past, present and future belong to the realm of time and the mind. One who is beyond mind, beyond time, that is the Atma. We are generally caught in the past or the future, but one who remains in the present all the time and knows all the three, past, present and future, and doesn't get affected by them, that person is the Kavi. So Krantadarshi. Why? Because at all times the self exists. Even when past, present and future is not there, Atma exists. Even when the past, present and future is there, Atma exists. So it is Kavihi. So this word Kavi indicates the quality of Ishvara. See, past, present and future, the Jiva cannot know so much. Only the Lord will know. That's why in the Gita, Bhagavan tells, no, Arjun, when he asks in the 4th chapter, Bhagavan tells him that this knowledge of 3rd chapter and whatever knowledge he gave till now was given by him to Lord Sun. Now Arjun asks him a question that how do I know that you gave this knowledge to Sun? Aparam bhavato janma, param janma vivasvataha. Your janma is now. Sun was there before. Katham etad vijaniyam tvamado proktavan. How do I know that you spoke this before? So then Bhagavan replies, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna. There are some fools who translate this as this is giving the birth date of Sri Krishna. Birth date of Krishna is in May and Arjuna is born on 4 June. Tavacha Arjuna. And when somebody asks that person that, how are we celebrating Janmashtami now in August and September, whenever, rainy season comes, he says, that time it was in May, and then because so many years have passed, Adhik Mas, this, that, it keeps coming. So now it has got pushed to August. That is called half-baked knowledge. So Bhagavan explained there, Bahuni me vyatitani, so many lives you and I both have gone through. Janmani tavacha Arjuna. You and me, we have gone through. Tanyaham Veda Sarvani. I know all of them. Natvam Veta Parantapa. You don't know any of them. Luckily, we don't know. And people are very inquisitive to know. And they all common question, one question which everybody will have at some point or the other is, why don't we remember our past lives? Because if we remember, then we won't make the mistake again. Very good. In this life also, you know many things, but you are repeating or not. So it's not about memory. It's about control over my mind and senses. I may have memory. Everybody knows sugar is bad. Memory is also there, given we have to go to hospital because of that. But still one will eat. So it's not at all about memory. It is about my control. So here when he says Kavi, Kavi means Ishvara here. Actually the first two lines are about Jiva. The third and fourth are about Ishvara. I'll come to details of that. Kavi means that. Manishi means one who is the Lord of the mind. Who is the Lord of the mind? Bhagavan only. Because of whom the mind functions. Yan manasana manute yena ahur manomatam. That which enlivens the mind but which cannot be grasped by the mind, that is this. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi. So Kavir Manishi. Manishi means that. Paribhuhu. Paribhu means Uparibhuhu. Means one which is above. Above meaning one which is the cause of everything. Cause is always above, effects are lower. Above in the sense of subtlety. Don't think of some place. Paribhu means that. Meaning it is the cause. Everything came from it. Paribhu. The ultimate cause is this Atma. Paribhu. The whole universe is a manifestation, appearance of this Atma alone. Paribhu. Now somebody says, from where did this cause come? So the next word says, Swayambhu. Okay, this cause is not come from anywhere. Because general question people have, no? Swamiji, who created the world? So we say God. Now who created God? God cannot be created. Because when we are asking cause of something, it is the effect of whom we are asking the cause. Suppose we say this pot is the effect. Now what is the cause of this pot? So we will say it is mud. Cause can be asked only of an effect. Is God an effect? God is not an effect. God is the ultimate cause. That's what we just saw. Paribhu. From where everything came. How do we say God alone is the cause? Why not anything else? Why not 5 elements? Why not atom, proton, neutron? That is the inert cause, which is the material cause. The intelligent cause is the Atma only, the pure consciousness. So it is the ultimate cause. Now that ultimate cause, because the word ultimate itself means there is no cause above it. It is the causeless cause. So it is called Swayambhu. God has to be causeless cause. Because he is not an effect. God cannot be an effect. If God is an effect, then God is perishable. God is the ultimate causeless cause of the whole universe. And suppose you say, no, God is not the causeless cause. Then anavastha dosha will happen. Infinite regress. Suppose you say God is not the ultimate cause. Who created God? You say God's father created God. Now who created God's father? His father. Now it will go infinite regress. So whatever may be, whichever way one understands, the ultimate cause of the universe has to be Swayambhu only. There is no other method. Swayambhu. Now what does that Lord do? Yatha tathyataha arthan vyadadhat. Distributes power, distributes objects, distributes duties, distributes responsibilities. How? Yatha tathyataha. As per the karma. As per the adhikara. The qualification. Not randomly. To whom? Shashvatibhya samabhyah. For these devatas, prajapatis, shashvatibhyah samabhyah, these prajapatis who are called samabhyah, shashvatibhyah samabhyah, for eternal time to come, meaning continuously in every cycle of creation, Bhagavan is the one who gives the power to various jivas who are meritorious to take up various positions. Right from Manu onwards, Prajapati onwards to Indra, Varuna, Vayu, all the devatas who are there, they are the phenomenal forces who govern the universe. To them, Bhagavan gives their powers, gives the powers to run the universe. He is the ultimate power. He delegates to these jivas who are meritorious. So he doesn't choose randomly. Please remember, when we say Bhagavan is the karma phala data, this is the Upanishadic reference of that. Yatha tathyataha arthan vyadadhat shashvatibhya samabhya. For eternal time to come, to all these devatas, right from Prajapati onwards, he gives the work of running the creation. That is one meaning. So these devatas don't have their own power. They have power given to them by Bhagavan. But the strange thing is, in the world, people worship devatas, they don't want to worship Bhagavan. They will run behind Kuber, they will run behind Varuna, they will run behind all different Bhuta, Preta, Pishach also they will run behind. But tell them to worship Bhagavan, no. Are they got the power from where? They got from Bhagavan only, no? So if I worship Bhagavan, then I worship the supreme cause. I don't have to worship small powers. And these small powers are jiva finally. They are also insecure. Why worship the jiva? Ultimately, my connection should be to the Supreme Lord. So here, one meaning is this, that Bhagavan gives the fruits, Bhagavan gives the power, duties, responsibilities to meritorious jivas. See, to become Indra is not easy. Indra is called Shatakratu. Shatakratu means one who has done 100 Ashwamegha Yajna, that person is fit to become Indra. Brahmaji also is a position. After 100 years of Brahmaji's life, this Brahmaji will go, another person will take up as Brahmaji. That we discussed earlier. No? The next cycle of creation, Brahmaji is who? Hanuman. So like that, meritorious jivas get those positions. Bhagavan gives them. There is one meaning, that the Lord is the one who gives these fruits of action and Atma is the ultimate enlivener of all. Second meaning is that when he says Yatha Tathyataha, it also means that the karma phala that jiva gets, how does the jiva get the karma phala? This is written by Shankaracharya ji in his Kenopanishad commentary also. To prove the existence of God, he has given many reasons. In that, one reason is that how does a jiva get the karma phala? Jiva does karma. Now, system has to be in place, no? To evaluate the karma. And to evaluate karma as right or wrong, by looking at it, we cannot evaluate. What is the main criteria to evaluate? The bhav, the intention. And as per the intention, then at the appropriate time, in the appropriate circumstance, with the appropriate people, the jiva has to get the karma phala. Now, what is that cosmic intelligence which makes this possible? That is mind-boggling. If one says, no, it is happening by itself only, because people say we don't believe in God, we believe in laws of nature. We do action, result comes. Action you do, result comes, but there has to be a system creator for it. How does it come like that? That word here means that Bhagavan is the karma phala data for the jivas. So if I think I am the jiva, then I should surrender to that Ishvara who is karma phala data. If I think I am the Atma, then I am not the Karta, I am not the Bhokta. Then Ishvara also is not the karma phala data, Ishvara also is not the karma adhyaksha. Both are Atma only. So yatha tathyatah arthan vyadadhat shashvatibhya samabhya. So now these 4 lines. Now if we see in this, different pointers of Atma are explained. But in every Upanishad, there will be a Mahavakya. Where is the Mahavakya in this Upanishad? Till now, we have not come across. In this mantra, the Mahavakya is there. How it is there, let us see. See, when we say Akayam, Avranam, Asnaviragam, Shuddham, Apapavidham. These 5 words, they indicate the Atma enlivening the Jiva, the individual body, mind and intellect. And when we are saying Atma is not the gross body, Atma is not the subtle body, Atma is not the causal body, Atma is not the ignorance, Atma is not the Karta and Bhokta. That is called the description of Tvampada. Tvampada means the Jiva. In Tat Tvam Asi, Tvampada is Jiva. Literal meaning of Tvampada is Jiva. But literal meaning, so we cannot say that Jiva is equal to Ishvara. We have to take the indicative meaning of Atma indicated by the Tvampada. So what is that Atma indicated by Tvampada? Is this one. That Atma which is not the gross body, which is not the subtle body, which is not the causal body. Because subtle body, causal body, gross body, doer, enjoyer, this is Jiva. The literal meaning of the word Tvam is Jiva. Now that Jiva cannot be equal to Ishvara. One wave cannot be equal to ocean. So what we have to do? We have to negate the form of the wave and take the water indicated by the ocean, by the wave. Same way here, we have to negate the upadhis. So these 2 lines, first 2 lines, leave out the first 3 words, Saparyagat Shukram Akayam. After that, Saparyagat Shukram. These 3 words you remove. After that, Akayam, Avranam, Asnaviragam, Shuddham, Apapavidham. These 5 words indicate Atma enlivening the individual Upadhi, which is the Tvampada. Kavi, Manishi. Kavi means we saw, no? The one who is the knower of past, present and future. That is Ishvara only. Manishi, the Lord of the mind, also is Ishvara only. Paribhu, the ultimate cause of the universe, also is Ishvara. Swayambhu, that also is Ishvara. Yatha tathyatha arthan vyadadhat shashvatibhya samabhya. That also is Ishvara only. Can Jiva give any duties to Indra, Varuna, Vayu? Jiva cannot give. Ishvara only can give. So 5 words to indicate Ishvara. Kavi, Manishi, Paribhu, Swayambhu, and Yatha Tathyatah Arthan Vyadadhat Shashvatibhya Samabhya. These 5 indicate Ishvara. By implication, it does not indicate Ishvara as Ishvara, but indicates consciousness reflecting through Ishvara. Like how in the individual Jiva it is consciousness, Atma, reflecting through the individual gross body, subtle body, causal body, doer, enjoyer. So mathematically what do we say? Jiva is equal to individual BMI plus consciousness. Ishvara is equal to total BMI plus consciousness. Now this individual BMI, total BMI are false. They are negated. Consciousness equal to consciousness, Jiva equal to Ishvara. Hence proved. Ho gaya. Now, Tatpada we have seen. Tatpada is the last, these 5 words. Tvampada is the first 2. Where is Asi? Asi are those 2 words. Paryagat and Shukram. Paryagad and Shukram is the one which shows the oneness, which destroys the upadhis. That which is all pervasive, Paryagad. And Shukram, brilliant. Sat and Chit, without any conditionings. These two words are. Rest of them all have conditionings. All the other words are negating conditionings. These two are not negating any conditioning. They are the one which are explaining the oneness. That Jiva and Ishvara are one. Atma is all pervasive. Atma is of the nature of Chaitanya. Brahma is also all pervasive. Brahma is of the nature of Chaitanya. So Atma is that Brahma. So the Mahavakya here is Saparyagat Shukram. That's the Mahavakya of this Ishavasya Upanishad. Unique it is. Everywhere else it is very direct. Like Kaivalya Upanishad, it will say Tattvameva Tvameva Tat. That you are that. Direct it will say. Chandogya Upanishad, it will say Tattvamasi, straight. Aitareya, it will say Prajnanam Brahma, straight. Mandukya, it will say I am Atma Brahma, straight. Here it is not said like that. Here it is hidden. Sa Paryagat Shukram. That is the Mahavakya which is indicating oneness of Jiva, which are the next 5 words. And after that, the other 5 words are Ishvara. So technically speaking, the Upanishad is over here. Finished. Shankaracharya ji actually says Upanishad is over here. Rest of the mantras are meant only for karmakandis and for the sadhaks who want to purify the mind and all that. But there are so many mantras more. Till mantra number 18 it is there. So now let us see what those mantras mean now. The next set of 3 mantras we have to chant together because it's a set. 9, 10, 11 is one set. 12, 13, 14 is another set. Now we are on which wave? Do you remember? Fourth wave completed. First wave was Ishavasyam Idagam Sarvam, not Shanti Mantra. Hello. Don't invent new waves. There are only a fixed number of waves. Shanti Mantra is a different thing. Shanti Mantra actually is the complete thing. All the 9 waves are meant for this. Not 9, 7. How many waves are there? अभी तक 4 तक किया है. Total waves are 7 or 9? भूल गए. 7. 7 or 9? See and tell. Open book test. Chalo, let us see if you find out. How many waves are there? I don't know in your page, in your book, which page number it is, but Gurudev has given. In the introduction itself, he has given. There are only 7 waves, not 9. 7 waves only. I just said, yeah, there are only 7 waves. So, Ishavasyam Idagam Sarvam is the first wave. Kurvanneveha Karmani Jiji Vishya Chatigam Samaha is the second wave. Asurya Namate Lokaha Andhena Tamasavrata is the third wave. Then the pointers are there, 5, 6, 7, 8. They are pointers of the self as well as the state of realization. That is the 4th wave. 4 waves are over now. Now we are entering the 5th wave. Now this 5th wave we should be very clear about. Andhantama pravishanti ye vidyamupasate tato bhuya ivate tamo ya uvidyaya gamrataha. The next one. अन्यदेवाहुर्विद्यया अन्यदाहुरविद्यया इति शुश्रुमधीराणाम् येनस्तद्विचचक्षिरे विद्यां च विद्यां च यस्तद्वेदो भयगं सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्ययामृतमश्नुते. Now first we will just see the literal meaning, okay? Andham tama pravishanti ye avidyam upasate. Those who worship avidya, they go into darkness. Tato bhuya ivate tamo yau vidyayagam rataha. And those who are engaged in vidya, they go into greater darkness. Huh? That means we will go to greater darkness. बाप रे, ये तो पहले बोला ही नहीं, डिस्क्लेमर नहीं दिया आपने स्वामी जी. हम इतना सारा पढ़ चुके, अब हम ग्रेटर डार्कनेस में जाएंगे. The next mantra says Anya Devahur Vidyaya, Anya Dahur Avidyaya. The result of Vidya and result of Avidya both are different. Who is saying that? Iti Shushruma Dhiranam. This is being said by the wise people from the past, earlier times. Yenastad Vichachakshire. They have explained it to us like this, that the result of Vidya is different, result of Avidya is different. Acha. Earlier it was said darkness and greater darkness. Now it is said Vidya result is different, Avidya result is different. Now the third one says Vidyamcha Avidyamcha Yastad Veda Ubhayagam Saha. Who knows both this at the same time, Vidya and Avidya, then with Avidya Mrityum Tirtva, with ignorance they go beyond death. Vidyaya Amritam Ashnute, and with knowledge they get immortality. Baapre. Confusion. Maha confusion. These 6 mantras, no, after this, so 9, 10, 11, and then 12, 13, 14. People get confused thoroughly, completely. They go round and round studying that, what does this mean? See, first and foremost, we should remember one thing. In a word, if the primary meaning does not apply, then we have to use the implied meaning or secondary meaning. Suppose you say, here comes a lion. What is the primary meaning of lion? It's an animal, no? If a lion is actually coming, as an animal is coming, then the primary meaning is applicable. But you say, give up your hands for the lion who has come. And everybody claps the hand and one man walks in. Then the secondary meaning has to be taken, that here is somebody who is very courageous, who is very brave, or who is a member of Lions Club. Here comes a lion. So that is an implied meaning. So where primary meaning doesn't hold good, there the secondary meaning or the implied meaning has to be thought through. Now here, what is the primary meaning of Vidya and Avidya? Primary meaning of Vidya means knowledge, and primary meaning of Avidya means ignorance. Now the mantra, in the 11th mantra, what was said, those who combine both, they will cross over death by Avidya and they will get Amrita by Vidya. So now obviously light, ignorance and knowledge, they cannot be practiced together. If something has to be practiced together, it has to be of same category. It cannot be opposite category. For example, I can watch TV and I can eat food. Yes or no? All the time we do that, Swamiji. What is the doubt in that? Full time watch TV and only eat food. So watching TV and eating food, there is no contradiction. There is no opposite. It is same category. But sleeping and watching TV, they are opposite. Either I can fall asleep or I can watch. For some time, I may be in between drowsy state where I am as though seeing and watching. But it is not happening together. The sleep is taking over. So it cannot be practiced together because it is opposite. Like, can you walk in the east and the west at the same time? Not possible because they are opposite. Same way here, the 10th mantra said Vidya and Avidya are opposite. So the primary meaning of knowledge here, of Vidya is not knowledge, and of Avidya is not ignorance here. Because one mantra says they are opposite, the other mantra says who practices it together. So obviously primary meaning cannot be taken here. What is the secondary meaning, the implied meaning here now? So the implied meaning here is Vidya here means upasana and avidya means sakama karma. Selfish action, desire prompted action. So this is one meaning. That Vidya means upasana, because we use the word Vidya for upasana also. We don't use the word Vidya only for knowledge. That's the primary meaning. Knowledge, Vidya means knowledge, Avidya means ignorance. But that meaning we are seeing here, it cannot apply. Because knowledge, ignorance won't come together. But the mantra is saying who practices both together, that person will go beyond death and get immortality. So that is not this knowledge and ignorance. So Vidya here means upasana, because we use the word Vidya in terms of upasana also, like we say Dahara Vidya, Panchagni Vidya. There it is upasana. Vidya word used in the sense of upasana. What is the meaning of upasana? Some Ishta Devata's upasana we do. It can be anything. Shiva, Krishna, Vishnu, Durga, Devi. Those are Ishta Devata upasana. Or you can do upasana like we have in Taittiriya Upanishad. Panchakosha upasana is there. Or we have in Kenopanishad, thunder, lightning. Brahman is like that. Or like the blinking of your eye. Different upasanas are there. So the idea of upasana is to make the mind nikrishta vastuni utkrishta buddhi. That is called upasana. In something which is ordinary, something super ordinary, extraordinary, superimposed. Like on a piece of cloth, the bhav is, this is my flag of the country. So the bhav of patriotism is superimposed. So that is called upasana. So Vidya here means the upasana. And avidya here means sakama karma, selfish desire prompted activity for enjoyment here or hereafter. So it can be activity in our day-to-day life, what we do, or it can be special rituals which will lead a person through punya to heaven also. It can mean both. Sakama karma can mean both. Something that I do for earning wealth here and then enjoy the bhoga, etc. That is sakama karma. Or I do special rituals which will earn me punya, and with that punya I will enjoy heaven and higher worlds. Either of these. Both will come under avidya. Now with this meaning, we will read the mantra. Andhantama pravishanti ye avidyam upasate. Those who follow the path of avidya. See, please remember the word upasate here means who follow. Don't suddenly say upasate means those who do upasana. No, upasate here means those who follow the path of avidya. Meaning, what is avidya here? What is avidya? Sakama karma is avidya here. They will go into darkness. Why? That is very simple to understand or not. When we do sakama karma, the karta bhav is very strong. So I am the karta, so I only have to be bhokta. And the result which will come, the result will be temporary. Now that will again leave a vasana in the mind, which will again make me do karma. Now that is darkness. Why? Because I don't know the self. Please remember, when we say here andham, this word had come before also, no? Asurya namate lokaha andhena tamasavrita. Andha means ignorant of the self. When I am so strongly associated with my body, with Jiva Bhav, that I am the Karta, that is ignorance only, that I don't know I am the Akarta. Just now we saw earlier mantra, no? Apapa Vidham. I am pure Atma, which is Apapa Vidham. Because I am Akarta, Abhokta. But now not knowing it, I am thinking I am the Karta, I am the Bhokta. Now if I am the Karta, I only have to be Bhokta. So now I will go in the cycle of birth and death. That is called avidya, that is called andham tama pravishanti. Ye avidyam upasate. Those who act with ego and egocentric desires. See, this is the depth of the Upanishad. Even if I am a good person, which people say or not in today's world, why so much of kitch of Vedanta and this and that? Just be good, do good. That's all. At one level, it is correct. Be good, do good. But you are still a jiva only now who is trying to be good and do good. Finite happiness only one will get. Until jiva bhav exists, karta bhav is there, bhokta bhav is there, so new bodies one will keep taking. And one important question to ask is, if I say be good and do good, retaining my jiva bhav, can I really do good? Because jiva bhav will have insecurity. Ego will have some attachment, some clinging, some insecurity. How can you really do good? Some selfishness will come into it somewhere or the other. So Upanishad tells us that until we do not realize the Atma, it is only ignorance. There are only two options. If you remember Ishavasya, what options are there? Either be ready to contemplate on self or do Karma Yoga. If any other option, there is no other option. The third option is Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavrita. That is what is this. That we who don't follow this, either of the two paths, if by avidya we worship, meaning we follow the path of only selfishness, it will lead to downfall only. Even if you don't believe in next life, selfishness leads to downfall in this life or not. How much we struggle and suffer is all because of our selfishness only. And in the world we are taught ulta. If you become selfless, you will suffer. No. If you become selfless, you are free. When we become selfish, then we are clinging to ego. There's so much suffering in that. So avidya means that. So now first line is simple. Andhan tama pravishanti ye avidyam upasati. Tato bhuya ivate tamo yau vidyayagam rataha. Those people who do upasana here. Vidya word means upasana. They go into greater darkness. They go into greater darkness means what? So upasana word here means keeping an alamban and then worshipping the Lord, or whichever upasya vastu is there. The Siddhanta upasana is the qualities of that will come into this person. What we popularly call as we think, so we become. And the Siddhanta of upasana also is this, that one will go to the worlds of the upasya. So if you are worshipping Lord Shiva, where will you go? Kailash. If you worship Lord Ram, where will you go? Saket Lok. If you worship Indra Devata, where will you go? Swargalok. The loka of that upasya you will go to. But then why is it called greater darkness? It is called greater darkness only because compared to Atma Jnana, it is still ignorance only. One. Two, bhoga vastu, our punya gets destroyed or not? Upasana will give some punya. One will go to the upasya loka, they exhaust the punya there, which one could have used for satsang. So in that way one says greater darkness. In the Upanishad, there's one very nice line which says that, which Shankaracharya also quoted, Vidyaya devalokaha karmana pitrulokaha. So those who follow the path of Upasana, they will go to that particular Devata's loka. And those who follow the path of this selfish karma, they will go to Pitrulok and then Swargalok and then Kshine Punye Martyalokam Vishanti. So now both these paths, the path of Upasana and the path of karma, Sakama karma, they lead to darkness and greater darkness. So should we not do karma upasana? Should we not do upasana? No. Upasana also can be done with Sakama bhav and Nishkam bhav. Sakam bhav upasana will pull us down. See, please remember one thing. In this, there is nothing about do's and don'ts. It is about a level of evolution. At certain stage, we have to go through certain things to experience it and understand its limitation to rise above it. Like a child, when the child is small, the child will play with the toys. You cannot tell the child, don't play with the toys, it is not good for you. Child has to play, and then slowly the child will come out of it. After coming out of it, growing out of it, if the child still plays, then one says, Arere, it is not good for you. So now, it is not that we should not do upasana with sakama karma. If we have ichha, we can ask Bhagavan, nothing wrong in that. But then slowly we understand that whatever we ask Bhagavan, still my jiva bhav remains. Better it is to do nishkama upasana only. And then realize oneness with Bhagavan. So it's about level of maturity and evolving. It's not about, oh, I should not ask anything. Then don't be scared. Ki, Arey, abhi kal subah mein kya mangu Bhagavan se? I to do japa every day and I pray for my well-being, my family's well-being and this and that. Now what to ask? Bhagavad Upanishad said that I will go into greater darkness. No, I don't want to ask anything. Don't be scared. Ask. No problem if you want to ask. Slowly we will rise above it. From Sakama Upasana to Nishkama also. So now 9th mantra is clear. 10th mantra says, Anya Devahur Vidyaya, Anya Dahur Avidyaya. The result of karma and result of Upasana is different. We just now saw result of karma is one goes to Pitrulok, one enjoys some karma phala here, one goes to Pitrulok, Swargalok, one comes back. Result of Upasana is different. It will bring bhav, it will bring subtlety, and ultimately it will inculcate the qualities of the Upasya in us and take us also to the loka of the Upasya. So the result of Sakama Karma and Sakama Upasana, they both are different, which also goes to show that we need both in life. It's not only by karma. Because karma, we can do, it keeps us extrovert. It exhausts our rajoguna. But upasana will increase the ekagrata. The ability to withdraw the senses will increase in upasana. It will not increase in karma yoga. Not even here karma yoga. Here it means what? Here it is sakama karma. In that single pointedness, subtlety, bhav, etc., that doesn't increase as much as it increases in upasana. So the result of karma and upasana are different. While living here also and after life also. Hence he says, Anya Devahur Vidyaya, Anya Dahur Avidyaya. The result are completely different. Iti Shushruma Dhiranam Yenastad Vichachakshire. The wise people have taught us like this. That's what the mantra says. So though their results are different, now the third mantra here, 11th one says, how to combine both these. And we should do samucchay. So this mantra is talking about karma, upasana, samucchay. That in our life, karma and upasana mixture must happen. Karma and upasana samucchay is what this mantra will talk about. Because some people don't do upasana at all. They think karma is enough. But both are required. So what does this mantra say? Vidya cha avidyam cha yastad veda ubhayagam saha. One who knows both these at the same time. Veda ubhayagam saha. Together one knows both these at the same time. Meaning one who practices both these. So on one hand, I will do sakama karma in the world. At the same time, I will also spend some time in doing my puja, bhajan, japa, that. Both these. That is called karma upasana samucchay. That I pray to Bhagavan to remove my problems, or I pray to Bhagavan to say that please bless me with these, or please help my family, or whatever it is. I ask. And I worship the Lord. Any upasana I can do. I am talking about Ishtadevata because that is more familiar to us. But any upasana, whichever upasana one does. And then through the day, I go and act in the world, achieve things, work with people, get results, enjoy that. This karma and upasana samuccaya has to come. Why? Because upasana will train the mind and intellect much more. That we just saw. So who knows both these, what will happen to that person? Avidyaya mrityum tirtva. With karma, one goes beyond mrityu. Now, what is the meaning of mrityu here? Meaning, when I have done so much work here, I go beyond tamas. I go beyond laziness, lethargy, procrastination. That is one meaning. Mrityu means that. Pramado vai mrityu, it is said in the Upanishad. So when a person has become very dynamic, has ambitions, wants to achieve many things, has goals, has to fix up many things to be done at proper timelines, that makes that person active, tamoguna destroyed. So that is mrityu here. Avidyaya mrityum tirtva, one meaning. Second meaning is with the enjoyment that that person has got, the result that one has got, one will enjoy in this world and one will also go to Pitruloka. Pitrulok, one will go to, or even one may go to Swargalok, wherever. So, avidyaya mrityum tirtva means that when the person dies, as per one's karma phala, one will go to appropriate worlds to experience the karma phala. Avidyaya mrityum tirtva. Vidyaya amritam ashnute. And with vidya they get amrit. Now what amrit is this? One meaning is amrit here is single pointedness, subtlety, and the qualities of the upasya. Second meaning of amrit here is they will go to the world of their devata or their upasya. Now the lifespan there is much more longer than life on earth. Hence that is called amrit there. Like we say, devatas also drink amrit and they become amar. That amaratva is not amaratva of atma. That amaratva is that they have a long lifespan compared to ours, which is very small. So compared to ours, their life is called amrit. So one who does upasana gets punya karma and they are able to experience longer stay in higher worlds, which is relative immortality compared to life here. So now who does the karma and upasana samucchay? That person naturally will exhaust the karma. But because it is sakama karma, one will create more and more karmic bondage. So it is said that person is going down, darkness. And because the upasana one is doing, but one still doesn't know the self, that person is also going in darkness. But whoever is able to do both these together, not only becomes dynamic, but also cultivates subtlety, single pointedness, and when the body drops, they will enjoy both. That's the best part. They will go to Devalok also, they will go to Pitrulok also, they will go to Swargalok also, because the karma phala is giving them Pitrulok and Swargalok. Upasana phal is giving them Devalok and higher worlds. So they get both. Enjoyment here also, hereafter also, Maja hi maja. If you want maja hi maja, what you should do? Karma upasana samuchay. But remember that maja is short-lived compared to atma's maja. Okay. वो किसने देखा स्वामी जी? ये तो आने दो पहले. Bird in hand is better than two in the bush. It's like that only. ये तो हमारे हाथ में है ना. कर्म करेंगे, कर्म का फल मिलेगा, फिर हम उसका भोग करेंगे. वाह वाह. और अधिकस्य अधिकम फलम. सो कर्म भी ज्यादा कर लिया, उपासना भी ज्यादा कर ली. हर रोज सुबह 1 घंटा माला जप लिया, फिर पूरा दिन बहुत सारा काम कर लिया, वापस शाम को माला जप लिया. वाह वाह वाह. माला जपने से पुण्य मिल गया, पुण्य से स्वर्ग लोग गारंटीड, हायर लोग गारंटीड. और कर्म करने से यहाँ पर भोग गारंटीड और पितृलोक में भी गारंटीड. तो गारंटी गारंटी एवरीवेयर. थोड़ा बहुत दुख इधर उधर आ जाएगा, वो भुगत लेंगे, कोई परेशानी नहीं. दिस इज आइडियल सिचुएशन. बस स्वामी जिसे आगे कुछ बोलना नहीं है, बस हमको ये प्रैक्टिस करने दो अभी. Today you got the key of maximum enjoyment. What our motto is, no, maximum happiness to maximum people for maximum time. ये उसकी चाबी है. But a person who is a seeker, no, he knows ये तो सिर्फ कर्म और उपासना समुच्चय है. कर्म और उपासना समुच्चय में ही अगर इतना मिल रहा है, so much you are getting, the next level will be upasana समुच्चय. Those are mantras number 12, 13, 14. Now, one point to understand here. This much you have understood clearly, no? Vidya means upasana. Avidya means sakama karma. Okay. This is the interpretation given by Shankaracharya ji, who says this is not part of the Upanishad mantra for a Brahmagnani. This is all for Karmakandi, meaning one who is the not seeker of Supreme Brahman. Now Gurudev and some other people have interpreted the same three little differently. What do they say? See, so what they will say here is that Vidya means the path of Nididhyasan. Now I'm telling second interpretation, okay? First interpretation is clear. Now don't mix with that. And that is correct also. Both interpretations are correct. Don't think anyone is wrong. Both interpretations are correct only. Depends on which level I am and what I want to follow, with what bhav I want to follow. So the second interpretation now, what does that say? It says Vidya means the path of contemplation and Avidya means the path of selfless action, Nishkama karma. Acha? Then how both will lead to darkness? Path of contemplation, path of selfless action, how can they lead to darkness? See, they can lead to darkness when we do not know and when we are not fit for it. A person who is not fit for, doing nididhyasan, and who leaves the duties, who leaves work, who escapes from house, etc., will that person not fall more into darkness? So that is called Yau Vidyayagam. This one, the 9th mantra, what did it say? That one who goes into Avidya will fall further. Tato bhuya ivate tamo yau vidyayagam rataha. So those who engage in trying to contemplate, are there not people who try to sit and do that? Without having purity of mind, one will try to meditate. Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. The best part is meditation class, you should see. First class only they will come and sit. Listen to what I am telling. What will you meditate on? I don't want to listen to anything. I am just sitting. I am Brahman, full stop. The rest you want to talk, you talk. They won't listen only. They'll simply sit like that. And some of them will do that mudra also. Half eye closed, Shambhavi mudra. And the eye is turned upward. Like that, it will be up.
So that's the meaning here, that Vidya means path of contemplation. That person who renounces house, everything, and goes away. You remember in the Gita, 3rd chapter, Bhagavan said that one who has become like that, a renunciate, physically who is not doing anything, but mentally is brooding over sense pleasures. Mithyacharasya uchyate. One who has renounced all action, left the house, become a sannyasi, is not ready for nididhyasan, now sits quietly somewhere, and Gurudev would say he will do no action, only 12 o'clock he'll open the mouth, somebody has to put bhiksha inside that, then he will close. Now that is escapism. If anybody who's an escapist, that person will fall. So Vidya here means path of contemplation. Avidya here means selfless work. Now how will a person fall in selfless work? That is where it is. One who doesn't know what is truly selfless, that person goes round and round in cycle of karma, thinking they are doing selfless work, but they are not doing selfless work. So many people, when they do social service, they do with the bhav that I am doing social service. The I is not surrendered. I should get recognition. I raised this much money. I made a difference to so many people. The I is very strong. And whatever they will do, there has to be some recognition for it. Name has to be announced for it. Picture has to come. People must applaud. Now that in the name of selfless work, actually I am strengthening ego. That is called falling. When I genuinely surrender to a selfless cause, it can be any cause, where I feel I am not important, the cause is important. And highest being Bhagwan. That I surrender my work to the Lord alone, nothing else I want. Only my seva I am doing of the Lord. Then that work becomes Karma Yoga. Now that work will purify. But in the name of selfless work, if one is doing selfish work, will it not lead a person to darkness? That is what this is. So the result of Vidya and Avidya, both are opposite. The result of contemplation is realization of the truth. Result of selfless work is purity of mind. So ninth mantra said, result of the ninth mantra said that one who follows path of Vidya goes into greater darkness, one who follows the path of Avidya goes into darkness. That meaning we saw. One who is an escapist goes into greater darkness. One who is doing selfish work in the name of selfless seva, that person falls into darkness. Then the 10th mantra is saying the result of both these are opposite. Naturally, result of Nididhyasan is Brahma Jnan, result of Karma Yoga is Chitta Shuddhi. Result are different. Now the third mantra here, 11th mantra, what does it say? One who practices both of these together. What does that mean? Practice both these together means one who is selflessly working through the day, and every few minutes in the morning and evening one is sincerely doing Nididhyasan on the Atma. Now that person is doing Samuchay of Nididhyasan and Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga will prepare the mind for deeper Nididhyasan. Deeper Nididhyasan will further strengthen Karma Yoga. So with Avidyaya Mrityum Titva, with Karma Yoga one goes beyond death. Death here means selfishness. Selfishness is death. Avidyaya Mrityum Titva. And Vidyaya Amritam Ashnute. Here Amrita means immortality, realization. So now these are two different interpretations. As I said, don't get confused in these two. The idea is what? Either do Karma Upasana Samuchay, whereby I do my regular daily work, which is karma. Combine that with Upasana, morning, evening, whatever time. And Upasana is not just morning, evening. Slowly that Upasana will translate into my day-to-day life also. Then that Sakam Karma will become Nishkama Karma. Slowly, when I do this, sakam karma, when it becomes nishkam karma, now that is the second interpretation. That mind will become more and more purified, and with that purified mind, I can contemplate. So there vidya means path of contemplation, avidya means path of selfless action. So to summarize, these are two different interpretations. In first interpretation, avidya means karma, sakama karma, and vidya means upasana, which is also sakama upasana. In the second interpretation, avidya means nishkama karma, and vidya means nididhyasana. Simple. Now, for today, we will stop here. Next mantra, next set of 3 mantras is a combination of upasana plus upasana. That we will take up next class. So you read. Did I give you homework to read 9, 10, 11? I told to read 8, no? Now today you read 9, 10, 11. Don't read 12, 13, 14. Now that one will read first. Now you see. Once I said don't read, now they will go and read first that only. I should not have said actually. Just read 9, 10, 11 commentary. That's all. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.